Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. Today I bring back to the show Richard Wren. Hey Richard, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Danny.
Well, all things considered, you say you're doing great, but obviously they've had this breakout with the coronavirus. This is what we're going to be discussing today. You're based down in Shenzhen. I just want to get the audience so that I'm sure they've been following the news, but it'd be nice to get someone with boots on the ground to get some more realistic feedback. So what other news reports that they read and feed into, they've got like a balanced opinion of it, because obviously there's a bit of scaremongering, etc. out there. And I know people are not going to, people being advised, like, don't come to China until about May, June time. Possibly skip the Canton Fair until a lot of this stuff is resolved.
Right.
One of the key knock-on effects we can discuss is rolled into Chinese New Year, the delays of people coming back to work and how that affects sellers and brands. Post-return. And obviously, because there's a big thing with factories, as I understand, maybe only 40 to 60% of the workforce returns anyway on a good day.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like on average, like you scale up, you go through the Christmas period or the New Year period.
Sure.
And then you only retain a certain percentage of the staff. So with this,
that's right.
So what's, your family's safe, I take it, yeah? Everyone's good in your family?
Yeah, they're fine. Yeah, thank you for the concern.
And so let's take it from the top. Let's talk about, for those that maybe are not aware of the origins, take it back to September last year.
Yeah, that was happened. I think it's right before the New Year's. Right around like end of December 30, because the first report that has been published is actually there's about 27 reports like having a sort of symptom of the coronavirus disease at the 31st of the December.
Oh, December, not September. Okay, great. Yeah, apologies.
No, December. Sorry. Yeah, December. So right before the New Year of 2020. Then there's about 7 out of that 27 is actually having a severe situation. And then 2 has been after treatment has become better, and then they leave the hospital. So I guess 27 cases out of what has happened right now is quite minimum in terms of in terms of the state level, because it's during the winter time, that's happened quite often. Yeah. But I think that's after the 3rd of the January, and then they start having a similar symptom, really concentrated in Wuhan area, which, if everybody doesn't know, that Wuhan is the capital of the Hubei province, with residents of the 11 million people. And then there's more actually been discovered that happened. So they take precaution to it, giving the facts of they're having swine flu, and also the SARS back in 2009. So they start taking more seriously into that, and quickly. And I think within a week, they actually, send examples, to actually get to test, doing the lab test, and then confirm this is sort of like a new virus similar to the SARS. And then it just start actually, just spreading out. And I think the one tricky thing is actually it's happened right at the beginning of the Chinese New Year period. Or in other words, the Spring Festival, which is that you have the largest, migrate, people in anywhere on the planet. So that's, that's pretty serious, when it comes to someone could be carried, the disease, which is why very shortly, the government start release, the level 1, like a disaster response emergency plan, and to like a student crosses like, the most of the province right now, which obviously Wuhan, they actually, in the most severe situation, they have the most strict rule to lock down the city.
Yeah. So what, with it breaking, you said earlier on, there's 27 cases. It seems to me it's been treatable in the sense that people have gone in and been treated and they've not had any reoccurrence of this. So I take it.
Yeah, I mean,
they've got, so basically they've got the solution to the problem, but then the problem is spread and how you contain it and stuff. So you mentioned that one province there. Is there been any other records of it being spreaded? Is it down by where you are in? You're not in Shenzhen, sorry. You're in Guangzhou, aren't you?
Guangzhou. Yeah.
You're in Guangzou. How far is that province from you, for instance?
I have to check the map to be exactly, but I think
just relative. Is it like a long way away? Or
it's quite a far away.
Okay.
Yeah, it's quite a far away distance. It usually will take more than like a 2 day speed drive, down there. It's over 1,000 kilometers. I just checked on the map.
Yeah. Okay. So it is of a great distance. And what's the advice on the ground now in terms of, are people shutting up shop? I mean, we see on Facebook, everyone's walking around in masks. Is that obligatory?
Yeah.
Is that everyone's walking in masks? You leave your apartment, etc. Same thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll do it exactly the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And how realistic will a mask protect you? Because I don't know how does it transfer from one human to another? Do we know?
I think it's pretty similar. I'm not like a scientist or a doctor in any way. We're not reporters, but I think it's good things actually. A lot of this information being released by the official government like media and also all across the social media. So for people to get easy access to kind of information, but it will be very similar than the just, normal flu. Or you have a fever, so it's airborne. So you basically get infected by have someone sneeze, nearby you.
Yes.
Or you in gathering in a small area, which is the air flow is not always as good as in the open space areas. Yeah. Then by having a mask, like a medical mask, is is going to be protected. You think in the most cases, as long as if you're not in this quite a crowded area, we're in the subway, something like that. But if you're a medical, if you're a doctor or a nurse, that you have to be really close into the patient, actually confirm they're having a disease. So N95 will be the best mask to protect you from, which is actually right now is a bit of a short in supply.
Yeah. No, I can imagine. So how is this moving on to how this kind of affects everyday Amazon business in the sense that obviously it's Chinese New Year, that everything slows down. People trying to get orders out before the Chinese New Year. There's a lead out where factory workers go home and commute home a couple of weeks beforehand to see their family.
Right.
Understandably so. Then you've got the slow return back, so it's tricky to order before and after the Chinese New Year because of the quality issues as well, because you may not have the same staff worked on previous shipments.
Absolutely.
What impact do you foresee and what Amazon sellers have to prepare for in terms of, future shipments coming out over the next few months to tie into balance off their inventory demands and prices? Right.
I think so far there's a lot of uncertainties as how long this thing is going to be going on. This morning they just released official news that they're going to be extend the Chinese New Year holiday from the let me check that from the 20 usually is from the 30th of the January to the 2nd of the February. So you got an extra 3 or 4 days there.
Yeah.
And obviously if your manufacturer or agents got tied into that Hubei area, or if your factory is like located in like a Guangdong area, but the majority of the workers is actually from that area, definitely it will be get affected, because nobody know now like how long it will take before the workers return, or if they can return, as long as like as long as the public transportation is still been shutting down, so it will be a difficult.
So
yeah.
If can you remind me what that province is in terms of
Hubei.
The type of products that are normally manufactured there? Like with Shenzhen, it's electronics, right?
Sure.
And each province have like one will have textiles, etc. Base where you're saying there, and Guangdong was it as well, because of the type of workers out there.
Because Guangdong is kind of like if you put in this in a similar situation, will be like I don't know, maybe Chicago or California, where there's a lot of people migrate actually from the inland cities.
Right.
Like Hubei will be like one of the cities that have a lot of workers that work in the Guangdong area, like Shenzhen, Guangzhou, and Shantou, so Dongguan area. So a lot of those workers, it's not necessarily has to be a factory located in Wuhan get affected, but could be also the factory who located in majority of the workers actually from that area.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And have you had conversations with, obviously because you're local and on the ground there, have you had conversations with factory owners and got their feedback on how they feel it's going to impact their business?
Well, personally, I haven't been contacting, our supplier, rather than just, wish them well, to be looking after their families. Yeah. I think there will be more discussion within the next few days, once close to the end of the Spring Festival, and they were having, at least have some plan, how we can resume back to work. Yeah. Or maybe if it's possible, to hire the local people temporarily to doing some orders, beforehand. But also you have to take into consideration of the freight forwarding company. So if you're using any freight forwarding company in mainland China, and then they could be also get affected, even though you have your product made already. But I think at this stage is still, early to tell. So, but Canton Fair is still like 3-4 months ahead. I'm still positive, because in the level of the action that we've seen taken by the government, which is have never been taken, even though when during the SARS period and also the swine flu period. So they never actually locked down city or anything. So I think, personally, I think the government just tried to do everything they can to actually keep, to deal with this in a short amount of time in the lowest impact to the economy and everything. So you pay a small paying, and then like hopefully you can get it, to deal with in a shorter period of time, rather than drag this for too long. One thing I like to mention is actually this disease. There's a lot of rumor going on, like up in the air. But it is the fact that this disease is not caused as deadly as the swine flu or the SARS. Like I mentioned earlier, there's actually cases that has been cured. Also, if you put in the calculation of how many people actually died after they confirmed diagnosis with the disease, and compared to how many people are actually got cured. So I think the death rate is around about 10% compared to back to SARS period, which is a lot of higher.
Yeah. And when was swine flu? That was 2009, wasn't it?
Oh, I don't remember the exact. Maybe 2012 or 13.
Yeah, obviously social media.
SARS was 2009.
Yeah. I mean, obviously social media has grown and there's more channels available now. So it maybe seem to be like the heat's turned up when effectively it's not as like you said, the fatality rate is not as high. It should be 0. We don't want to hear any of that. But
sure, absolutely.
But
yeah.
What we're trying to say is we need to keep a lid on things, that it's not as out of control, maybe, as it's perceived on social media. So going back to what should sellers be doing now? Obviously, factories are on Chinese New Year. What's the best way to handle it? Like, when sellers are dealing with factories, they treat them like family. I know people go on holiday with their factory owners, and what is some of the best ways to deal with this, would you say, now? Reach out to your factory, check in, see if the family's okay, that kind of stuff.
Right.
I know everyone's running a business, but you don't want to go, what's happening with my products? You have to have a little bit of decorum, So
yes,
give me some ideas of what the audience should be doing in order to, for a safe landing for dealing with their factory.
Sure. So I think there's always option A and option B. Personally, I think the option one will be sort of like, if there is something that actually, there's a similar product that actually, been pre-made, it's already in the market, which also happen to be falling into the similar niche that you're currently selling. Mm-hmm. So without involving massive, manufacturing production, design and molding and all that. So it can be a product that's ready to sell by slap a label on it. So, so try those, to see if you can find like a source of that, and then ship to sell those products, maybe to redirect some traffic, to the new one, if it's possible. And other thing will be really option B will be just kind of like, wait out, keep like a, close contact with the factory, to see if they have another plan that, if they getting more, how to say, they're getting more like a more updated, through the local government, mm-hmm. Because their life also depending on the business they're running, so they may actually obviously they're more intentions to get back to business than we are. So hopefully they maybe to suggest them even having several different factories combine their resources into together, mm-hmm. which is a lot of factory they're doing that anyway, to combine their workforce to work on your order, hopefully to help you to restock rather than run out of stock. So if that involves some paying a little bit extra, that, so try to be understandable because this is a certain time, but and then maybe they can work out the deal later on to having extra fee deducted from your future orders, something like that.
Mm-hmm. What about visiting? Would you say at this stage we're at the end of January, the last week of January, just mm-hmm. time stamp this podcast. So at the end of January, and what would you suggest now? Because it's normally mid-April that you've got candidates there. People go from there mm-hmm. down to EWU, etc. Would you advise at this moment just keep it on ice? Don't think about booking flights and stuff and planning too far ahead because we don't know where we are? Or?
Yeah, I think I would suggest that, just hold on. If you ever apply for a visa, apply for, flight ticket, just hold on, for just a couple of weeks, or a month, to see how this thing's developed. Obviously, if the worst case scenario, if it's still everything is locked down, the shutdown, you're not going to be able to, fly and, attend, the events anyway. But I think as far as all the actions has been taken, from each from each level of the government and the hospital and all that. So we should be seeing some progress, in a shorter period of time, in a shorter period of time rather than in a few months' time. Yeah.
Cool. Well, look, let's leave that there. Is there anything you want to add before we go?
Yeah, just for anyone who's actually currently in China, or has been in China, during that period, just don't panic. And so it's obviously it's very unfortunate events that happened. But also just if you're in China, just make sure you wear a mask, if you're in the public, or just try to avoid going to any public area in the club or cinema, any of that, or taking a public transport. Just, stay home for a short period of time. If you do actually feel you're having a symptom or anything, you need help, you can either reach, a local hospital, or you can reach me.
What's your details?
Yeah, I'll try to help as much as I can, in terms of translation or contact or anything. But hopefully that can be resolved sooner than later, and then everything will be resumed back to normal.
Cool. And so how do people reach you?
The best way to reach me will be on my WeChat. My WeChat ID is RICHARDZREN. Also, I'm available on Facebook, which is Richard Ren 50.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Thank you for giving up your time today, Richard. Obviously, we'll do some updates over the coming weeks on if there's any changes, just to keep everyone abreast of what's happening. But if this is your first time, if this is your first time, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you again in the next few days. Take care.